What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here, and welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus check update, the two new upcoming packages, the physical infrastructure package, and the next stimulus package known as the American Families Plan that might be combined into one package and passed all together, as well as what is going on in the world today. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss out on new updates. Remember, new videos come out every day on my channel here at 10 a.m., 3 p.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's jump right in. If you can, give this video a like, and here we go. First of all, President Biden signed a bill today making Juneteenth, which is June 19th, the day that slavery ended, a national holiday, and will start this June 19th as well, which will actually be, which is on Saturday, and federal workers will actually get Friday, tomorrow, off.
American society, which we can do. In short, this day doesn't just celebrate the past. It calls for action today. I wish all Americans a happy Juneteenth. I'm certainly going to, in a moment, going to sign into law, making it a federal holiday. And I have to say to you, I've only been president for several months, but I think this will go down for me as one of the greatest honors I will have had as president, not because I did it, you did it.
On stimulus, Senator Bernie Sanders, who's the Senate Budget Chairman, and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer are crafting or considering right now a $6 trillion stimulus package or spending package, which would be both the physical infrastructure package and the next stimulus package, the American Families Plan and the American Jobs Plan, combined together as one and not a reduced plan, which they had negotiated with Republicans. As you can see here, Senate Budget Committee Chairman Senator Bernie Sanders confirmed to reporters today that the Senate Democrats are discussing a $6 trillion budget reconciliation proposal that would also expand Medicare and lower the cost of prescription drugs. Bernie Sanders on Thursday said that the proposal builds on President Biden's American Jobs Plan and the American Families Plan, the next infrastructure and the next stimulus package. He says, yeah, absolutely, when he was asked whether the Democrats are discussing going it alone on a proposal as big as $6 trillion. He says, quote, the president has given us a framework. I think it's a comprehensive and serious framework. It is a function of the Congress now to take that framework and go with it. I think it is absolutely imperative that we deal with the existential threat of climate change, that we lower the cost of prescription pharmaceutical drugs, that we make sure that elderly people can chew their food because we expand Medicare to include dental care, hearing aids, and eyeglasses. Also, I had a really good video before this at the 3 p.m. Eastern Time video. I'll link you to it at the end of this video if you haven't seen it yet, about Bernie Sanders and a brand new bill that was introduced today for Social Security and SSI increases. A very good video you should watch. I'll link you to that video at the end of this video. Bernie Sanders says, quote, I think it's unacceptable that we have 500,000 people sleeping out in the streets in America because we have a major housing crisis. What the president has said is we ought to take a comprehensive look at the crises facing this country and what we're going to do. Bernie Sanders was asked if he could support a $6 trillion reconciliation proposal, of which half of it would be paid for. He flatly said no. The way you described it, nothing personal, but no. The key is this is like the defense budget. It's not how much, it's how it's utilized that is important. So what he means here, and a lot of people don't really understand this unless they probably watch the show, because I don't see hardly anybody else talking about this. And the vast majority of people do not know this. They do not know that the past, I see this all the time. Who's going to pay for all these stimulus checks? Who's going to pay for all these stimulus packages? All this spending that's being done. Our kids are going to be saddled with the burden of this for years and years and years. Well, if you've been watching this show, you know that the 5 stimulus packages that President Trump passed, former President Trump, most people don't even know he actually passed 5 packages. They think of only the 2 stimulus checks that former President Donald Trump passed. He actually passed 5 packages in total. The other three were minor packages that didn't have stimulus checks but had other stimulus provisions in there, like Paycheck Protection Program, money for vaccines, et cetera, right? The five packages that former President Trump passed, and the one package that current President Biden passed, nobody paid for those packages. The government already runs a deficit every single year, which means that the government spends more money than they take in. It would be akin to a person spending more money every year and racking up credit card debt every single year. Okay, which a lot of Americans do. It's just kind of the way things are right now. And by the way, almost all national governments across the country do the same thing. Okay, so the U.S. government has a national deficit every single year. Now, you might not like that. You might not care whether they spend more, but that's just kind of how it is. In fact, very rarely, almost never, do they actually have a single year where they actually bring in more money than they spend. They just spend more money than they bring in every single year, no matter who's president, whether it's Biden, whether it's Trump, whether it's Obama, Bush, anybody, right? Okay, I think there was one year that President Clinton was able to balance the budget, and then it turned out, as the data came out like later, that they weren't positive. They were still negative. They still spent more, even though they announced that they had balanced the budget that year. So when it all said was done, even that year, the government spent more. Okay. So no taxes were raised for these past 6 stimulus packages. And the government already spends more money than they make anyway. So who's going to pay for it? It's just going to go and sit on the national deficit and sit there probably till the end of time. Back in 1990, the national deficit was $3 trillion. Now it's almost $30 trillion. By the time I'm 40 years old, by the time I'm 60, the national deficit will probably be $60 trillion. And there's nothing to lose sleep over, because it's like losing sleep over your neighbor's credit card debt. There's nothing you can do about it. It doesn't really affect you. You're not really paying interest on it. In fact, a lot of economists actually argue that stimulus checks and stimulus packages that go to the people, there's no interest rate on that. It's not owed back. And some people don't even consider it debt, because you're giving money back to the taxpayers in their time of need. And again, there's no interest rate and it's not owed back. So is it even considered debt if it's not owed back and there's no interest rate on it? Nonetheless, what Bernie Sanders is saying here is that this $6 trillion stimulus proposal and infrastructure proposal that the Democrats are currently working on right now to pass through the reconciliation process, that they're not even okay with half of it being used, called pay-fors, or being paid for. So basically, taxes would have to be raised, or different things tweaked around, like we've talked about on this channel. Medicare alone, they can raise $600 billion a year for Medicare expansion and extra Medicare benefits, simply by forcing pharmaceutical companies to give the government prescription drugs for the same price they sell it to other countries for. That can save our country $600 billion a year alone. The IRS also says that they're owed $1 trillion every single year, that they're owed from taxpayers, but they don't have enough enforcement to collect it. Those two bills alone, or those two tweaks or ideas alone, would be $1.6 trillion. However, Senator Bernie Sanders is saying that the Democrats are in charge right now. They're in charge of the House, the Senate, and presidency, and they want to pass a $6 trillion I almost said bipartisan, but there's definitely going to be no Republicans that are on board with this. We could have a Republican proposal or a Republican deal with just the infrastructure package, but it's going to be much, much smaller. They're talking around $1.2 trillion. Democrats are now saying they don't even know if they're going to consider that, and it might be too low for them to even go with. So those are kind of the two plans right now. And Senator Bernie Sanders is saying that not even half of it is going to be paid for, which means, as we just had our little history lesson there, nobody's going to pay for it, at least the majority of this. And that there might be some tax raises there. They want to raise taxes on the wealthy, and they also want to raise taxes on corporations, especially the corporations that don't pay any taxes. There's about 50 plus Fortune 500 companies that pay $0 in federal tax every year. Okay, so they want to tweak a couple things like that, but even after those tweaks, it'll likely pay for less than half of this $6 trillion package. So yeah, now I fully think that this package will not pass at $6 trillion. I think the Democrats are doing what they did with the last two, well, when they initially announced these two packages. They're starting high so that there's plenty of room for negotiations. I could see both of these packages passing together through a reconciliation package at around $4 trillion because we have some moderate Democrats in there, like Senator Joe Manchin from West Virginia, who are going to be like, yeah, 6 trillion. I don't know about that. But again, that's kind of why they're starting high. It's almost seems like they know what they're doing in Congress, right? Start high so there's room to negotiate so that you can meet in the middle and make a deal, even if they pass it through the reconciliation process, which is just the Democrats passed it. That's how the third stimulus check passed. Only Democrats from the House and the Senate voted for it. Every single Democrat from the Senate, all 50 of them, voted yes, including Senator Joe Manchin. And that's now what they're saying they're proceeding with to do this again, combining these two packages. However, they have these two bipartisan groups on the side, a group from the Senate, which is now 10 Republicans and 10 Democrats, and the Problem Solvers Caucus, which is a bipartisan group of around 50 people, to work on that infrastructure package as a bipartisan deal to pass it with Republicans. But Democrats are also kind of going it alone in the background, basically saying, yeah, we're going to work on passing this with reconciliation. And then if we come to a deal over here, then we'll just pass it with that deal, and then we'll move on to the next stimulus package. But in the meantime, we're combining the stimulus package and the infrastructure package together, and we're going to work on the paperwork now to get that process started now. So if the deal over here, the bipartisan deal with Republicans, does not come through, then they're already working on passing it without them anyways. And it also kind of puts a deadline and a clock on Republicans, like, hey, Republicans, if you want to get that smaller deal here, if you want to get that on there, get your name on the bill, and also prevent us from spending twice as much money, the clock is ticking, and you better come forward with your best proposal, and it better be good enough for the Democrats and President Biden to say yes to it, or else they're going to spend more money than the Republicans want to, and they're going to pass it without Republicans because the Democrats control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. Last year, when we were talking about like the second stimulus check, we were talking about a whole different story because Mitch McConnell and the Republicans were in control of the Senate, and we also had a Republican president, former President Donald Trump. So back then, we'd be talking about, all right, the Republicans are willing to go up to $1 trillion. We're negotiating over putting a stimulus check in there. If you remember, the second stimulus check was put in about 6 days before they passed the bill. At the very last moment, the cry and the push from people and from senators and congressmen and congresswomen were like, we cannot pass this bill without another stimulus check in there. And ultimately, that is what happened. They took the money away from states and cities because Republicans didn't want to go over 1 trillion. So they had already crafted this bill, and people were like, you got to put a stimulus check in there. What are you talking about? And yeah, they're like, okay, but we still don't want to go over $1 trillion. And they're like, okay, well, we'll take away the money from states and cities and we'll give it to people for stimulus checks. That kind of goes back into the economy anyways. You know, people from, Ohio spend their money in Ohio and it goes into the economy. It goes back to the states and cities and all the businesses there. So instead of giving the money directly to the states and cities, they gave it to the people as stimulus checks, the $600 stimulus check. Then former President Donald Trump wanted it to be raised to $2,000. Mitch McConnell said no, and the Republicans lost the Senate from the Georgia runoff elections that happened just a few days later. Now, the Democrats are in control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency, and are saying, listen, we're going to pass these packages without the Republicans. If they don't come on board and in good faith make a deal that we can agree with, we're going to pass it without them. Okay. Also, when October 1st comes, which is in about almost 3 months away, a little bit over 3 months away, the Democrats get a whole new set of reconciliation cards where they can do this all over again until the next election, 2022 election. So they have a little bit over a year to pass multiple different packages, provisions. They're talking about Social Security raises. I had a really good video on that, just the video before this. They're talking about Medicare expansion to include hearing, dental, vision, and hearing aids completely for free, no additional payments for Medicare, as well as lowering the Medicare eligibility age to age 60. They're also going to do school reform, where they're going to have 2 years of free preschool and 2 years of free college for almost every American included in this next package. That's likely going to end up in there. And then I think after that, we're going to see student loan debt forgiveness of anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000 done through presidential executive order. President Biden has actually done 4 rounds now. Just this week, he did the 4th round of student loan debt forgiveness, although I would consider them mini rounds. The first 2 rounds were for $2.3 billion. Billion with a B is actually considered a mini round when we're talking about the entire country of the United States, and all the people in it. The most recent round was another $500 million of student loan forgiveness for people with permanent disabilities or were defrauded by their schools or their school closed on them. The good news is that President Biden apparently is on board with another round of stimulus checks, saying multiple different times he's open to a fourth stimulus check. The weak jobs report makes it clear that there is the need for more stimulus. He was even at the world stage on the G7 conference, not only saying that more economic stimulus packages and measures need to continue to be passed and continue to be flowing, but also convinced the other world leaders that they need to continue to pass more stimulus this year so that the world economy continues to go up and it doesn't devalue our dollar so that we're not the only country continuing to pass more stimulus. So President Biden is in favor of more stimulus, and we've actually had some very positive things about him, out of President Biden over the last several days. The other good news is that with a $6 trillion infrastructure package, or even a $4 trillion infrastructure / stimulus package, if they negotiate down from $6 trillion, there is plenty enough money to pass either recurring stimulus checks or, at the bare minimum, a fourth stimulus check to be included in this next package. We have dozens and dozens and dozens of Democratic lawmakers that are pushing for even a fourth stimulus check or even the monthly recurring stimulus checks that is also backed by Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer as well as Senator Bernie Sanders, that are both in favor of not just a single stimulus check to be included in the infrastructure / stimulus package, but for monthly recurring stimulus checks to be included in this package. Now, this is in addition to the monthly stimulus checks for children that are starting on July 15th, called the child tax credit, that are already passed for 1 year by the Democrats from the third stimulus check package. Remember, not any Republicans voted for that package, so I say the Democrats passed it. Those monthly stimulus checks or monthly child tax credit payments or checks, whatever you want to call them, are going to start on July 15th. $300 per month for children under the age of 6 for the rest of the year, 6 payments, as well as $250 per month for children ages 6 through 17. We'll get $250 per month for the rest of the year. And the other half of the money, the first half of this year, will be paid out on your tax returns for 2021. So you'll get a one lump sum for the first half of the year of $1,500 for children ages 6 through 17 and $1,800 for children under the age of 6. These are called the child tax credits. They've been increased from what they were previously, and the IRS is sending these out now in monthly payments or monthly checks starting on July 15th. So the IRS has set up a portal. If you're not a tax filer, you don't normally file tax returns because most likely your income is too low and you don't need to. I'll put a link down below in the description of this video from the IRS for their actual page where it's like a non-filer tool for people with children to receive these child tax credits. They're also setting up a separate website right now for everybody else that they're hopefully going to have done by the end of this month, where you can log in and tell the IRS if you want to opt out of those monthly payments, which I don't recommend. I recommend you take the money early as opposed to waiting till next year to get it as a one lump sum. You're already going to get half the year as a one lump sum anyways. Also, we don't know all the things this website's going to have, but it also could have a way for you to go on there and claim if you had a new child this year. Congratulations if you did, as well as maybe change your payment form or anything like that, where you get your payments, something like that. That is supposed to be set up by the end of this month. I will keep you updated on that, as well as all other stimulus provisions. But they're pushing for a fourth stimulus check to be monthly, in addition to these child tax credits, which are already monthly checks that are already passed just for 1 year. in 2021 that was passed from the third stimulus check package. They want to extend the monthly child tax credits till 2025, and they want to do a fourth stimulus check that is a monthly stimulus payment as well. We have two different proposals, one that goes until the pandemic is declared over, which could be a couple months or 6 months, and another one that pays monthly payments of $1,000 until a year after the pandemic is declared over. Because again, even when the virus is gone, the economic recovery is likely going to take us years. And they know this. They want to continue to pass stimulus, like President Biden says, to help our economy help recover. So if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. Remember, new videos come out every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will keep you up to date with everything. After subscribing, you can click the bell icon down below, which gives you reminder notifications when we go live with new videos. You can click this video here to watch my newest video about Social Security and SSI increases. Very good video. Click on that to watch that next. Or you can click on this video to watch how to start your own business selling products on Amazon FBA. I've had dozens of students that have replaced their 9-to-5 income by selling products on Amazon FBA, their program, and I teach people how to do that. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.